Well, the more things change, the more they say the same, and that's a case in point with the rottenness in the state of Victoria. Today, a Victorian coroner has linked the suicide of a former mayor to the humiliation she faced at an Anti-Corruption Commission public hearing. Although the coroner has rejected a request for a public inquest into the former mayor of Casey's death, he did state, and I quote, that the management of the welfare of witnesses called to give evidence before IBAC will be considered in the finding and will be the subject of comment and potentially recommendations. Now, it can't be repeated too often that the former mayor of Casey was subjected to a 2-day public grilling over her relatively minor role in a contentious rezoning decision, while the Premier Daniel Andrews was examined in private over the very same deal. As Damon Johnson, the former editor of the Herald Sun, has commented, for a former suburban mayor, the process proved the punishment. For a premier, the process was a shield. But that's the way it is in Victoria. The system is fixed to favour Labor, and in particular, its all-powerful premier. There are up to five ongoing anti-corruption investigations involving the premier, but almost nothing is known about any of them because he's never been questioned in a public hearing. And the results are all of these inquiries are delayed, certainly until last November's election, and are still under wraps. Even so, beneath the government's big win last November, there are clear signs of public discontent. At the state election, Labor secured 64% of the lower house seats, but they did so with just 37% of the primary votes. Now, that's because the Premier's party benefited disproportionately from preferences, which are now, in politics, more important than ever. This time, preferences needed to be distributed in almost 90% of seats where no candidate won a primary vote majority, compared to the long-term average in Victoria of just 50% of seats going to preferences. And thanks to the Premier's refusal to reform the upper house voting system, there's a plethora of dodgy minor parties set up to channel votes to pro-Daniel Andrews candidates. There was even a Sack Dan Andrews party set up, believe this or not, but by a former Andrews operative to channel votes his way to pro-Andrews independence. So last year's election wasn't quite the Dan slide it seemed in the immediate aftermath. Just think how it might have turned out had there been a serious and credible Liberal opposition.